And welcome back to the Insider series. Today we have Steph on, which is incredible. You know, she's been on Download Festival booking team. She's promoted towards a Live Nation for huge artists, which we'll get into. Managing Black Gold now, a band that's done incredibly well on TikTok, as well as others. She's part of the MMF Accelerator class of 2025, managing rock and metal acts in a streaming era. So this is very, very exciting for all of us. And today we're going to get into it in the Insider series. So let's go. Steph, I'm so excited to have you. Thank you for coming on the Insider series and speaking on the LMS KRS today.
That's all
And
right. Thank you for having me.
it's an absolute pleasure. Let's start with Black Gold. They went from kind of anonymous mass band to millions of TikTok views. Fred Durst personally invited them on the Limp Bizkit Arena tour. Walk me through that timeline. What happened when, and what were the strategic moves that made that possible?
I mean, the TikTok era, this was let's say late 2022 that we started this, and ultimately around that time, TikTok was very much a big buzzword for everybody, but no one really knew how to crack it, so I actually picked up the TikTok for the band because they didn't really want to take care of it. So I just, would follow them everywhere, make loads of videos, make loads of content, trying to figure out what I thought was right. And then just one day I posted a real off the cuff piece of content that actually just skyrocketed. It went from 0 to 100 really, really fast. And I was actually out at my partner's Christmas party and I couldn't stop looking at my phone because it just kept going off. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. This more, something's different. And it just went viral. And, as you said, Fred Durst saw the TikTok, commented on it, invited the band on tour with them on an arena tour. So I'd love to say that there was a huge strategic element to the run up to that. But I think the main strategy for me with TikTok is the consistency. Just trying to post, just seeing what sticks because you never really know what it's going to be. And a lot of the time you can't predict what's going to go viral. And I think that's the main myth with it. And off the back of that, I spent a good 12 months really analyzing how TikTok works and how you can actually kind of crack the system a little bit, but it's still very much trial and error. But at least knowing how to get things in the right For You pages and how to get it in front of people that might like it and how you consistently keep it spreading and going viral. So that was something I then learned off the back of that and is now a kind of strategy that I apply to all of my artists because of the amazing discovery element that it has as a social media for new artists.
Incredible. I've already got questions coming through to me on Discord as we're speaking, Steph. And there's a two-parter here, which is actually really interesting from Dan. He's asked, what do you do immediately after that TikTok exploded to convert attention into opportunity? And they also said that they're anonymous. They kind of wear masks to hide, identity. And they're being told to show your face, be authentic. Why did you think the mystery worked to Black Gold when for other artists they feel like they can't do that?
Well, I mean, when they launched, they had already come with a very, very clear image of what they wanted Black Gold to be, and they had thought long and hard about it, and they'd already created absolutely everything, a story, a lore behind what they did and who they were, and they ultimately were like, we want to be judged on the music alone, not who we are, not what we look like, not where we've come from. We want people to just enjoy the music. And I think with Black Gold, the element of the music is it's great music, but it's also just really fun. And I think that is the authentic part that comes through. People can feel that there's no ego, it's just absolute fun with the kind of music that they're creating. And it just allows people that kind of escapism to have the fun that they want to fun. So I understand how people may see sometimes, oh, I have to be authentic, I have to be organic, I have to show my personality. And I think it very much depends on who you are as an artist and what your brand is, because you can play with it in different ways. Because I have a few bands that have brands, rather than it's just themselves putting themselves out there as their own name. So I think there's definitely a bit of balance in how you do that.
I love those values that they have, and actually, it kind of makes their USP, doesn't it? Which I actually really quite like. Obviously, Black Gold have played Down Low, Copenhagen, Grasspop 2000 Trees. They've been nominated for Best UK Break through Artists of the Heavy Music Awards. What's the festival strategy you have used you think most artists might misunderstand?
I mean, Festivals ultimately want to book artists that have a ticket worth because they want to make sure that they are booking people that are attractive, that people want to come and see that they would spend their money on as part of that ticket bill. And I do think a lot of artists approach festivals too early on in their career, and that is something that I learned when I was booking Download, and ultimately was the reason I started this company because I realized that so many artists were undereducated on kind of what it takes to do certain things. And I was lucky in the fact that I was looking after Black Gold. I already had a great reputation. I knew a lot of people in the festival world, so I was able to get them those high festival plays early on, alongside the assistance of their agent at the time, who was really great and came on board as well. So, they were kind of, I guess, the anomaly there, in that we didn't know if they had a ticket worth, but we knew that there was some good buzz going on there, and you know people took a chance on it. But now we're able to kind of approach festivals with that ticket worth and with those numbers and show them that we have interest in those areas and that we're worth putting on the bill.
Absolutely. It's incredible to hear that. And I think it's great advice for people in the industry to have the understanding of why you started up and what that was looking at. You're obviously the first woman on Download's festival booking team. And when thousands of bands apply for a few slots, what's the filter that eliminates 90% before anyone even listens to a track? What's the biggest thing that you can kind of, I don't know, choose at that moment?
I mean, I can't comment on their current booking procedure, but back in the years that I did sit on the booking team, a lot of the barrier is having an agent, and having an agent bring it to the table, because that's when you have a trusted party bringing it to the table. And there was definitely times when we had bands that didn't have agents that approached us and we sounded good, but it is really difficult to give them a main festival slot when those slots are like gold dust. But now there's multiple other ways into the festival. There's always been the Download Festival takeover stage, which sits in the campsite, which is not actually booked by the festival bookers, it's booked by the boardies, which is the kind of Download community forum. So that's very much a fan voted platform for them to play in the campsite. And that's just as big as an opportunity because that stage is actually really large and there's no other bands to watch at that time. So you have a captive audience. And then there's also the courtyard stage, which is for the RIP customers, which is kind of an exclusive, much smaller area for those that pay for the bell tents and the caravans and the nice camping. They have a separate area for exclusive performances. That is also booked by the Download team. But that's a good way to kind of get your first step into the festival, before pitching for a bigger slot. I think just kind of tests the water a little bit.
It's incredible, incredible like knowledge I'm learning here, Steph. So I'm excited already. Obviously, you worked at Live Nation promoting tours for J. Cole, Zara Larson, Architects, among others. When you look at support acts for that, where do you find them from? Is it again an agent that you'll be going there? And what makes you rebook a support or keep working with a band again and again?
Supports is a very difficult topic because ultimately there can be so many different routes to it. It's not always going to be picked by the promoter. It's not always going to be picked by the agent. It may be picked by the management. It may be picked by the band themselves. So you ultimately never know where that support act is going to come from. And you can submit it to the promoter, you can submit it to the agent, you could submit it to the management. You never know who's going to be in charge of really picking that. But again, I think especially post COVID, one of the things that matters the most is ticket worth, buzz. Can you bring something to that show? Have you got live videos? Can you show them that it's going to be great? And I think that's a really difficult thing sometimes to kind of, for bands early on to get that first step, because ultimately they don't know their ticket worth and they
Yeah.
don't know.
It's got to be
But
value led, isn't it? You've got to be providing something because it's such a
yeah,
wanted opportunity.
exactly. And but I mean, I've had it before, and even when I was at Live Nation, I would often give some bands a chance because I saw promise, and I thought they were a great band, and I thought people weren't giving them the opportunities that they needed, and they didn't have an agent. So there was a few instances where I got to pick them as a promoter. There'd be a few instances where maybe the venue put them forward because the venue know them, they're local. There's so many different opportunities, but I think also pitching at your level is
Mm.
also really important.
Yeah,
A lot of people go in for the big hitters, And
Yeah.
it's like if you can find yourself something that's maybe a more appropriate level, an entry level, and build your way up, that's going to be obviously more attainable than feeling like you're getting knocked back at every opportunity.
100%. And the personal relationships when you're working up that ladder, starting smaller and growing, is
Yeah.
just so key. And I had it today for Wreckfest. An artist dropped out, and there's been people that have been really desperate to play, been really polite, chasing us up, but in a really kind way. And I just thought, you know what, we're going to give them a chance. They've been so keen, and they've not done it in a rude way. They've not been chasing too much, but actually having a little bit of persistence and making the effort to go meet people in at networking events, it can be the difference.
Yeah.
Steph, obviously you started Baroness Music as an artist development consultancy in 2020. What's the gap between talented local artists and ready for management that most musicians don't see?
Yeah, that's a difficult one because every manager will be different as to what they want to take on and what their circumstances is. There may be people that are obviously part-time managers that are happy to kind of take stuff on a more developmental level and there isn't necessarily a financial interest in it. And then there'll be other management companies and management professionals that would want to see that the band is generating money and becoming a business before they consider taking it on.
Mhm.
So I don't think there's necessarily like a tick box, but I'm always like, if you get a manager, don't think that you're immediately going to hand over everything to your manager and they're going to do it for you. Think about if you can manage what you're doing now and adding someone to the team is only going to help strengthen that. Like you're already getting opportunities, you're already opening doors, you're already understanding social media, streaming, all those kind of different things, and you're making a solid foundation for yourself. And adding someone with knowledge to the team can only, add fuel to that. That's a good thought process to go in with a manager because I've seen so many people just being like, yeah, I need a manager because I'm too busy. And I'm like, oh, well, if you get a manager, you're just going to get busier. So, don't think I'm doing all the work. It's very much a collaborative thing.
Yeah.
So I think I'm always like, if you can get the ball rolling and adding someone to your team can help it go faster, that's going to be probably when the time it is to look for management. But, don't be sad if people would knock you back and say no, because everyone's got a different thing that they're looking for. But people approach me weekly, multiple times a week, and I just have to say no because I'm full. Like I cannot even think about taking on any more artists for management due to my own workload. As much as I have so many wonderful clients that I do consultancy with and development with that I would love to manage, I don't have the time, which is why I do the consultancy with them so I can make sure I set aside that time for them. But I couldn't full time manage them because I just don't have the time.
Absolutely, and it's important to be honest and open about that, isn't it? And kind of say it. And
A hundred
I,
percent.
I massively agree. Where it's like people think their manager's going to come in and I'm just going to focus on the music now, and it's a weight off. It's not really the case in reality. And also, I think a lot of management jump in when they see momentum. I think it's a really important word in this industry when they're building. That's typically when I see a manager come in. Steph, in your position, obviously you've worn a lot of different hats in the industry. What's the biggest lie artists tell themselves about why they haven't made it yet?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't really know. I think sometimes, I think that, you know what? So many artists will go and just post about their music once or twice, and then do nothing. No
Mhm.
social media, no, fan building, no data capture, no, outreach or anything to try and widen their reach on the music. They'll release their music and then they'll go, I don't know why it's not doing very well. And I'm like, well, you need fans. It's not just gonna, the regular thing of however many hundreds of thousands of songs get uploaded to Spotify every week, right? How do you break through the mold? How do you break into the algorithm? And, you know, just posting once or twice on social media and releasing songs is not going to really get you anywhere. You really have to build something and find unique ways to promote it, find unique ways to bring people in. And I think I see that a lot when they're like, well, I released it and nothing happened. And I'm like, what do you expect? Magic? Like, you have to do something about it. And I think I see that a lot, where bands, don't understand that they have to promote. their music. They have to build a fan base, and they have to go looking for people to come into their world,
Mm.
to kind of keep it going and expanding their reach.
Absolutely. I'm massive at the moment, Steph, and telling
Oh,
artists. It's almost
yes.
like a funnel where it's like followers, listeners, super fans. Have you got a fan club? Can you treat them well? Whether it's broadcast on Instagram, a Discord server, like have somewhere where fans feel part of your journey. Maybe they're helping you decide what art cover to use. Maybe you leak a song a few days earlier. Because if they feel
What?
part of
What?
it, they will break through brick walls. And I just think it's such an important part of being a musician and building that career. Guys,
Yeah.
there's so many brilliant questions coming through on here and on Discord. Keep them coming. So I'm coming to the end of mine and I'm going to pass over to you. Steph, you're part of the MMF Accelerator class of 2025, a program that gives some grants and a program for managers to really learn from the best in the industry. The MMF Accelerator report, I love data. The Illuminati an 18% year-on-year earnings increase. People say there isn't music in the music industry, and it is tough. This isn't an easy career, but there definitely is. What's the strategic shift that drives that growth? What are the top managers doing in your position?
I think a lot of the time, budgeting well, learning how to get things done, without spending loads of money, understanding your profit margins. I even at a small level, I teach all my artists how to create a business, because I see so many artists at the same level in debt because they're not being advised properly or they don't have the knowledge. And yeah, I've taken some artists out of that place and helped them to build a business and understand how money works, which in turn obviously then benefits me as a manager. But I think there's also other opportunities out there, especially not so much in the rock and metal world, but definitely in the hip hop and the pop world. When you're looking at brand partnerships and things like that, they can bring in quite a lot of money for artists, quite a lot of support. We're definitely looking at more money coming in for export opportunities as well. I get more from going to European festivals than I do for staying in the UK. We make more money and we have to take everyone over to Europe and we still, make a profit. So I think it's definitely about understanding how to make it a business properly rather than just kind of, running an artist into the ground and saying, well, you have to pay this and you have to pay that. And for most of my artists that I manage, they're independent, so they get 100% of all their streaming royalties. And obviously, when there's something like a record label introduced into that might have, an advance to recoup, that can cut down a lot of your income, because you're not earning from your music. You've had the advance, which ultimately you may or may not recoup in the years to come. But with a lot of my artists, they still have their turnover with their streaming, their physical sales, and even things like performing royalties, your PRS, your MCPS, your PPL. People would be surprised at how much money just goes down the drain that people don't
Absolutely.
collect there.
Absolutely.
So just making sure that you are generating income from all the avenues for your artists and doing some wonderful budgeting.
Guys, I'm taking great notes. I hope you guys are over doing the exact same, right? Because I'm learning so much from Steph. My last question, Steph, and I'm going to pass over to our lovely artist here to ask you directly as well. Obviously, you've worked with labels, big, small, independent. What are they looking for? Because a lot of musicians are staying independent now, but a lot still want that advance and still want to work with labels for the door it opens. What do they look for? Is there set criteria that you think that they need to hit for that?
Go ahead. Live start.
Sorry, I think someone's not on mute.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, I would say that ultimately labels are giving you money to make a record. So again, they need to make sure that they're going to get their money back from that. And if you're not streaming and you're not selling records and you don't have a fan base, there's a little chance of a record label giving you a good deal. I've seen people give zero advance deals to bands to give them a chance, which ultimately, if you want to do that, that's fine if you feel like you need the support. But labels always have the option to drop you. You never have the option to drop a label. So, going into the thought process of getting a record label, make sure that you're in a good position. Make sure you feel confident about the product that you have and the output that it can give to fans and how much you can build on it. Because ultimately, you don't want to get dropped, which is what, everyone kind of fears from their deals. So I think just making sure that you understand that you are generating, income, you have a good fan base, it's growing, that's going to make you a good prospect for a label, obviously, as well as incredible music.
Absolutely. No matter what anyone says, your biggest asset is your songs. Don't let anyone tell you any different. It is so important. Right, I'm going to pass over to you guys. You've been waiting really patiently. If you want to come on camera and ask Steph, please do make yourself known. I'm just going to start in the comments. We've got here, do you think playing London showcases, which often with bad promoters is good, or on the other hand, would it be better to put on my own shows with people who are more aligned with? That means play less shows, but better ones. What do you think?
I mean, I'm a big fan of the self-promote, because ultimately, if you can get good venues for quite a low hire fee and you can split that between a couple of you, you then get all of the ticket income off the top of that. You do your own promotion, you do your own marketing. Like, there's a lot of these London showcases. I don't go to any of them. I don't know any of the industry that goes to them. You never really know who's going to show up or how many people. But if you can get into a good habit of self-promoting your own shows and getting your own ticket worth, like I discussed, that puts you in a much better position. All you need is a good venue, a C tickets or a Dice account, set up your own ticketing, a little bit of digital marketing, a little bit of organic promotion, and the fact that you think and know that people are going to turn up to that, and you can have a really nice self-promoted show in your hands.
More income and more data. Data is key,
I
which is
love the data. Yes,
yeah.
exactly. If you get your own, your own ticketing system, then you obviously get all of that data, that you can then put into your mailing lists and your fan clubs and all of those kind of things, which is when you get to larger levels, is an argument that you will have with promoters where you're not allowed your own data. So get your data while you can.
Absolutely. Simon, do you want to come on camera and ask a question, mate? Because you've got some brilliant ones here, and I don't want you to miss out.
Yeah, can do, mate. Hi there, Steph. Got a question for you. So, our whole year this year, in a rock band environment, we're looking to try and figure out ways to try and get some funding towards an album. Having dropped 2 EPs, we've got a bit of a business model together where we're not making losses on most shows now, covering all the costs and petrol and stuff like that. Um, have you got any suggestions as to how you go about pitching towards labels? Is it a white paper kind of situation where you want to put in your profits and losses? Or is it more to do with numbers online? Are there any sort of tips you can give in that environment?
I mean, I think the best thing you can do is give them kind of the accolades, what you've done recently. Be honest about it. Don't try and
Mhm.
like overinflate things because people can see kind of straight through that. Give them the numbers, give them your kind of month on month, projection of how you're growing, give them a demo link to the songs that you've got and just kind of go, this is what we've got, this is the interest we've got on what we've done, just have a listen. Obviously, approaching labels that are the right kind of label that have maybe done similar
Mhm.
artists, similar levels. It's always a good place to start. But, in terms of funding, you can obviously go to other options. If you wanted to fund a record, there's wonderful funds from people like the PRS, um, with their open funds. If you wanted to look at doing something yourself and putting it out yourself, that could also be a good option because that's what the PRS Open Fund is for the creation and the touring of new music.
With regards to that PRS fund, do you know sort of I had another question. I hope you don't mind me just using it
Go
while
for
it's
it,
in
Simon.
there. Yeah, it's specifically sort of related to that. So, are there any sort of advice you give on how bands might be able to actually get those grants? Because I understand obviously a lot of people are applying for them. What would make you likely to get one?
Yeah, it's a very, very heavily oversaturated fund when it comes to the application process, especially because there's only 2 rounds of it this year. One of them is already gone and is currently in the judging process. But ultimately, they want to know that you have a good idea of what you're doing and you have the right thought process.
Wow.
And the main thing you want to talk about is all the things you're doing, why that's important. Imagine that the person reading it knows nothing about your genre. So
Mhm.
over explain it because it could be a dance or EDM professional judging your application. So don't assume they know your genre. And then make sure your budget is well researched and well dictated. So it's not looked like you've just thrown in a bunch of numbers, that you've
Of
actually
course.
thought
Yeah, yeah.
about how much is everything's going to cost, how much it's going to break down, and how much you're going to support it from your income. So how much you're going to make from, or you've made from merch sales, ticket sales, streaming, PRS. This is the money you're putting in. That's the money they're putting in, and how that balances as a budget. That's probably going to be your most difficult part.
Absolutely. Do you know roughly sort of what realistic figures they tend to do? Is it sort of hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands kind of region, or is it dependent?
The open fund only goes up to £5,000.
Perfect.
So if you want to apply for momentum, that's the next level. But momentum is, imagine that would be the last funding that you ever needed before you became a legitimate artist that never needed any funding ever again. The main mistake people make is they apply for momentum funding way too early in their career.
Sure. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated.
That's all right.
Amazing question, Simon. For everyone watching, for funding, you've got on the Backstage Pass LMS UK app, Helm musicians have given you criteria of what they look for and a phone number. So whilst you're doing the application, you can call them. So make most of that. And we've got the oh my god, I can't remember, event master sheet on the Backstage Pass as well. If you've never put on a show before, it is a rundown step by step of how to do it. Vinny, I think you've got one more question. We've got time for you if you want to come on and ask.
Yeah. Hey, hi, Steph. Very interesting. I mean, thanks for sharing all your thoughts. I have a question. So, in terms of funding, which Simon just asked, how important is it actually if you're a small band? Isn't it all about the ideas? So even if a recording costs 50 quid, it doesn't really matter how it sounds. Isn't that more important than trying to waste time getting money to produce a bigger recording, sounding bigger? So I guess it's in terms of how important is sound to you, or is it more the creativity behind it?
I mean, obviously it's up. Oh, I've got an echo.
Oops, I'm gonna.
Thank you. Sorry, I hate it when that happens. Yeah, I think it's obviously up to the musician as to what they want to do, as to if they apply for funding for the record. But I do ultimately think a record needs to sound good. It doesn't mean that you have to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on it. Like, I know many great producers and mixers and masterers that are, still incredible at their level and charge a lot less than some of the others. So I think as long as your recordings are sounding good, and you're happy for them to be released, then how much you spend on them is up to you.
Amazing. Steph, we're wrapping up now. Thank you so much for coming on. There it is, the exact playbook from someone who's booked downloads, promoted arena tours, and managed a band to 1.5 million TikTok views and support slots with Limp Bizkit in months. This isn't theory. This is exactly how it works. If you're serious about breaking the local circuit, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And can everyone in this webinar say a massive thank you to Steph? That was unbelievable. I've come away with a lot, and I hope you guys at home have as well. Can we say a big thank you?
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Steph, if anyone wants to get in contact with you or you want to push some bits, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find the best way is my website, baronessmusic.co.uk. I have a little contact form. Makes sure that everything doesn't get lost in the hellhole that is my inbox. So yeah, if you ever want to chat about rock and metal development, I'm happy to kind of guide you in a managerial way, but not as a manager, and kind of give you advice on how that works. Or if you just want to send your music, please do.
Guys, there you have it. Take up the opportunity. Steph, thank you so much and have an amazing evening.
No worries. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Say thank you.
Thanks.